money manager, just because the woman or the man earns more money, should they be the manager of the finances? Yes or no? Who should be the manager of the finances in a marriage? Okay, somebody put their hand up. Okay. Who should? Is it the woman that did better, or is it the man that did better? Okay, I like his answer. Whoever is better with money. I don't care if I earn the most. If I'm hopeless at managing the finances, then my husband needs to do the job because he does a better job of it. It is not based on how much you earn. It is based on who can manage the finances better. And that person takes the lead in tracking the expenses. Now, just because I'm managing the finances, does that mean the other person has to do everything I say? No. Who has the final say in how much we spend? She does, he does, or both of you? Oh, the Lord. Okay, I've never heard that one before. Well, hopefully you're praying to the Lord that you both have an understanding of how he wants you to spend your money, okay? And that God gives you guidance. But a lot of the times you want to be able to, even if I'm the one that does the budget, I don't take it to my husband and say, you've got to do this. He has to have a say in it, right? He has to agree or disagree or make changes where we need to make changes. They need to keep record of all the financial situation for that household. How about this? The family money manager is not the one who makes all the financial decisions. Just because you earn the most, it doesn't mean that everything has to go your way. And some relationships are actually stressed out because the husband or the wife says, well, I bring the most money in this household, so you've got to do what I say. That's not a healthy relationship. You want to bring your resources together so you can do what's best for your family, okay? Come up with a list of tasks. So if you say, hey, honey, you're going to make a list of what it is that we're going to do, grocery shopping. How much does that cost? Okay, then we're going to have the conversation. How much should we spend eating out? You have the conversation together. And he'll say, well, I think it should be this. Well, I think it should be that. And then you come to some sort of agreement that you both are able to live by because you both discussed it. There is a non-negotiable task for couples and singles. The budget. You've got to do a budget. You have got to have some sort of way of saying, okay, we've agreed on X amount of money for eating out, or X amount of money on our gas bill, or whatever it is. You've got to have those conversations. The budget is the tool to tell your money where to go. I want to mention nerds and free spirits. In most relationships, you have somebody who is very nerdy, which means they I want to see all the columns straight. The numbers have to match up, and if they don't, they're going to lose their mind. Then you have this free spirit who just, it doesn't matter. We can do whatever we want. You can, you have people who end up in a relationship, and they're two different individuals. So you want to respect each other. I recognize that you are the nerd, or I recognize you the free spirit. But how can we work together so we can meet the goals that we've discussed? Okay, so you want to set your goals together. How often should you meet about your finances? How often? Every day? Would you like to be in a married situation where every day your wife or your husband is talking to you about money? No, right? You want to set time aside. You want to say, on Thursday night, we're going to have the talk about money. Or on Sunday night, when there's no football or whatever, we're going to talk about money. You set those parameters in your household. And you want to meet and discuss some of these things on a regular basis. You know what happens if you don't have a time set for you to meet and discuss some of this stuff? In some households, they're talking about it all the time. So it becomes very, you kind of beginning to shut yourself off. Oh, I'm tired of him. He's always talking about money, 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 money. But if I know that on Thursday night is a time when we're going to talk about finances, we'll find some other stuff to talk about all the other days. And then on Thursday, we can have that conversation. So you want to make sure that you both agree on that. Life is often busy and overcrowded, but it is essential to make time to discuss your dreams and your goals regularly. Dreams can be set 3 months. Your goals that are set 3 months, 6 months, 2 years from now. Where do you want to be in 5 years' time? I want to finish college, or I want to have graduated with my master's, or whatever it is that I want to travel the world. Those are dreams that you said, put them down on paper. Write them down so that you can ask your friends to hold you accountable. My goal is to be out of college in 2024. And then what you're going to do after that? Well, I plan to do X, Y, and Z. But things change, right? So you want to be able to look at them 2 years from now and say, well, I thought I'd finish college in 2024, but I'm still a little behind. Okay, it's 2025, but I'm still going for it. So you want to be able to review those goals on a regular basis. Write them down so no one is surprised what the goals are. And you have something to go back to. 6 months, and I say, what? Was I planning to go on vacation, or was I planning to go to Taiwan, whatever it is that you do. But if you put it down on paper, you say, yeah, my goal is, and you can even, I have some clients that actually put their goals and they stick them in the refrigerator or on the mirror, and every day they say, wow, one day I'm going to have X, Y, and Z, or one day I'm going to do this, because they've already got their goals set down on paper. Even as a young person, you can do that. You can have your goal of, hey, I'm going to try and save $100 or $500 and put it somewhere so it reminds you all the time. I mentioned that one already. Okay, this is about relationship. Have the regular, honest meetings with your spouse to discuss his finances. Review your budget and adjust them if it's necessary. Work towards consensus on individual spending limits. Remember, I mentioned in my household, we might say it's $50 a month. In your household, it could be $200 a month that you say, she has this, I have this. Or you decide, hey, we don't have any for this month because it's a tight month in our budget. You agree on your spending goals. Talk about your dreams and goals. I mentioned that one too. Establish your emergency fund. We covered that. Millennials. These are some facts that you guys might find interesting, and I thought they were interesting, so I decided to share them with you. Reasons cited by millennials for reining in spending habits include worrying about the economy. Some people feel like, I don't know if the economy is going to crash or not. Job security. Some of them worry about job security. Fear of debt. Some people are afraid because they knew that in their household they had so much debt. And as a young person, they're afraid about it. According to a new survey, 22% of young adults, listen to this age group, 18 to 24, and 20% of adults, 25 to 34, name debt as their top money worry. They say, I'm so worried, I don't know what I'm going to do about this debt or college or whatever it is. This was an interesting one. The fear of living in debt is even greater among the millennials. Look at the percentage for credit card debt. It's the highest, 40%. Then they have student loans, then they have car loans, then they have mortgage, and they have medical bills. Only 25% of people in that age group had no debt at all. So the other 75% had debt of one of those categories, if not all. I thought that was pretty interesting. 60% of 18 to 36-year-olds have reeled in their spending. In other words, it means that they've said, you know what? I've got to save some money. I've got to do something. So I'm not going to go out with my friends on a regular basis. I'm going to say to my friends when they say, hey, let's have a movie night, and it's, I'm going to say, no, I'm not doing it. And it's okay. If your friends get to understand that you're on a plan, the chances are they're going to, hold you accountable to say, yeah, that's a good idea. You mean you're saving? Yeah, no, I'm saving for my car. And I know in our household with our kids, we told them, you're not going to get a free car. You're going to save something, and we're going to match whatever it is that you save. And do you know what? Our kids got a car, and they were able to save for it. Had we just given them that car with them not putting anything towards it, they would have felt they were entitled to having a car. And when we got that car, we said, okay, we've got the car. We're going to help you with insurance until you get a job. And when you get a job, you're going to pay for gas and insurance because you are driving that car. Do you know my son would come home, if I was putting gas in his car, he would drive the car anyhow, wherever he went. But when he got his car, and he was now putting the gas in his car, he would sometimes tell his friends, no, I am not driving all the way to Arlington because that costs money, right? I had a friend who used to shop with her kids, and she would tell me that when they went shopping, the kids would pick this and pick that and these jeans, and then they'd come out and check out, and she said, then I'll pay for it, until I started giving them the money and say, okay, son, you're old enough to go and pick your own clothes. Here's $100. And she said, do you know, when he went shopping, he was a different child. In fact, she said one time she went shopping with them, and the son came with 2 pairs of jeans, and he said, Mom, I really like these jeans. And she said, well, just pick one. He said, well, this one costs $50, and this one costs $30. And she said, well, just pick one. He said, it depends on who's paying. If he was paying for it, which one do you think he was going to go for? If he was paying for it, that's right. And if mom and dad were paying for it, guess which one they were going to go for? So parents that I hear, and young people, you can hear this because I'm giving them advice. If you allow them to be able to get the money within a certain limit, they will shop differently. I saw a parent looking at their son and saying, I can imagine you. Yeah, it really does work. So you want to help your children to be able to make the right decisions even when it comes to shopping. And if they're paying for it, they're really, and they take care of things. It's different when they have to get involved in that process. Teaching young people to handle money wisely is not the primary responsibility of the school or anyone else. Who do you think should teach their kids about money? The parents. But sometimes we in households where our parents don't talk about it. And if you came from that household, my encouragement to you is when you have your own household, you do not have to do it that way. You teach your kids how to handle money. You teach your kids at a young age so that they can know what to do. We're all familiar with this text, right? Train up a child in the way you should go. When he is old, he will not depart from it. If in my household, I never ever taught my kids how to handle money, when they get older, are they going to know how to handle money? No, they're not. And it's sad. And I was giving Leah an example at lunchtime. I used to run Financial Peace University classes at our church, 3 to 4 of them a year. And my kids were always young, but they were there, either sitting in childcare, whatever. And so they knew a lot of these principles because I would teach them over and over again. One day we were sitting at the dining room table, and I was opening the mail, and I pulled out this envelope, and this plastic card fell out, and it ended up on the table, and it was a Visa card. And my daughter went, oh, Mom. And I said, what's wrong? She said, you've got a credit card. And I said, no, honey. I had to explain to her. It was a debit card. My debit card had expired, and they had mailed me a new one. But in her little mind, because she had seen me cut up credit cards, she thought I, myself, am cutting people's credit cards, and here I am getting a credit card myself. But I used it as a teachable moment. I used it to say, look, baby, it says on here, debit card. And with a debit card, if you don't have the money, you shouldn't be able to use it. It is not a credit card. And I tried to explain to her at that young age what the difference was. Another example that I shared with Leah too was, I said one time we were doing something and I wanted to buy something and my daughter asked and I said, oh, I don't have the money. And she said, Mom, just go to the wall. And I said, the wall? She said, yeah, whenever you need money, you just go to the wall. She was talking about the ATM machine. But I had to explain to her at that young age, if I don't have money in my bank account, that wall will not give me money, okay? But it was a teachable moment. And so I am telling you, young people, even if you're not at the age where you have children, when you have your own household, find opportunities to share some of these principles with your children so that when they're older, they will know them before somebody else teaches them. This is one that's a real, it just makes me mad when I hear people say this. What does it say? I will make sure what? My teenager or my young adult gets a credit card. Why? So she can learn to be responsible with money. Does having a credit card make you responsible with money? No. In fact, it makes you get into trouble with money, right? Because a lot of these credit card companies, guess what they do? They show up on your first day on campus at college. They set up tables when you're looking to see which campus you're going to go to, and they say, hey, come and get a free T-shirt. Hey, come and get a free hat. And guess what? While you're here, just sign up for this credit card, because when you have a credit card, you become an adult. And then you say, yeah, I'm going to college. I'm an adult. You get the credit card. Oh, it's only $500 credit limit. And you start using it, and that $500 increases, and before you know it, you can't manage that credit card. My advice to you will be stay away from it. Let them keep their hats, let them keep their T-shirts, because you can go and buy a hat and a T-shirt somewhere else and not have the debt with you. okay? So be very, very careful when they're on campus trying to make you feel like you need credit in order to be an adult. Because a lot of times it can mess you up later on. And this is just talking about teenagers. The principle of saving, giving, and spending, that's something, you know, as a young adult or even as a teenager, those three things, you want to be able to save, you want to be able to give, and you want to be able to spend some money. Now, I'm not a parent or a financial advisor that says you do not spend at all. I'm fine with you spending as long as it's within your limits, as long as it's what you can afford, okay? I have some clients who say, does that mean we have to stop eating out? I was like, no, but it means you have to set a limit as to how much you can eat out, okay? So you can still have some fun in life. Let's see, okay. I have some questions. Does anybody else have questions that I can add to the basket before I actually address some of these questions? And let's see where we're at. Anyone else? No? Okay, let's see some of the questions that I have. And I'm going to go ahead and I think I have my contact information there in case anyone has other questions they want to ask. When should somebody buy a home? Now, I don't know what age this person asked that question. My situation when I'm giving advice of when you should buy a home is when you can afford to have a home. Here's why. Just because they tell you that the mortgage is $800, that is not the only expense you're going to have when you have a home. Okay? When you have a home, there's the mortgage, there's the taxes, and there's interest that you're going to have to pay on that mortgage. So if you cannot afford to pay those things, you cannot afford a home. Okay? So you want to be able to sit down and see whether you can afford. And one of the things that I do with my clients is I have some percentages, some recommended percentages, and I say, how much money do you have coming in? What are all your expenses? And how much of your household income is spent on your mortgage? Because the other thing is, when you buy a house, you've got to maintain that house. It's no use having a house, but I can't afford the electricity in that house. Okay, so you want to be able to afford the things that come with actually having a home. So when should somebody buy? My advice to you, the best time to buy a house is when you don't owe anyone else money and the only payment you're going to have is your mortgage. If you do that, you will find yourself in a good financial position. A lot of times people have enough money to meet their basic living expenses. What actually messes them up is debt. Okay, so if you're in debt, do not go on and add a mortgage because you're just adding more debt to your situation. Get rid of all the debt, and then you'll be in a position to be able to buy a house. Some people say, well, renting is so expensive. Yeah, I get that. But trust me, if you own a house, it could be just expensive because you've got to maintain the house. At least with renting, somebody else takes care of those repairs and maintenance and things like that. All right? And that's a good question. Now, if I knew the age, you know, for some people, I was sharing this story with somebody else. If I just got married, do I need to go out and buy a house? Some people are in a position to do it, and some people are not. I might have to rent for a while I clear up my college debt. I might have to rent a little while he gets a decent job, and then later on. But during the time that we're planning to buy the house, I can start saving towards the purchase of that house. And if you do buy the house, here's the generation we live in. If we buy a house today, tomorrow we want the house to be as fully furnished as my mother and father's house. There's no way. So what do you do? Well, I buy a house, now I've got to furnish the dining room and the bedroom, and I got to put it on a credit card, and before you know it, that what is a joyous occasion becomes a burden because you've got yourself overextended. All right, let's see, there's another question here. Some of your handwriting is very flowery and pretty, so I need to check my glasses. How would someone in our age go about saving for a house we plan to buy in the future that's about $250,000? So somebody is wanting to buy a house, about $250,000, and they probably, obviously a young person, they're saying, well, what do we have to do? My advice to you is keep to these principles, avoid debt. so that you can take money and say, when you go to a bank and you are in a position where you want to buy a house, and you can turn around to that bank and say, I have X amount of dollars as a down payment. Do you know that's a good way to start buying a house? Because you've got some money towards bringing your monthly payments down. So as a young person, if you have a dream of owning your own home, get yourself in a position where you're saving something towards buying the house, because actually having a house is a good investment. I had a session with a young man who said, I want to buy a house, I want to buy a house. And I said, you do these things, you'll be in a position to buy a house. They went and they bought a house. I mean, he got married and then bought a house. And he came back to me and he said, Mrs. Hunt, my wife's going to have a baby. Should I buy a bigger house? And I said, how many bedrooms do you have in your house? We have 3 bedrooms. But I was thinking maybe we need, and I said, for now, you'll be fine in their house. Do you know that couple lived in that house till they had their second child? They probably are in their early 30s, and their house probably has like $45,000 left on it. They had a down payment when they bought it. They stayed in the house even when they got their first and second child, which meant they didn't have a bigger mortgage. And now they're in a position where in a few years' time, they're going to have that house paid off. They will be in a good position to be able to buy a bigger house then, right? Because they've got equity in this house that they've had for a while. So save towards your goals if your goal is to actually end up buying a house. Wow, that's the second. There seems to be a lot of people here that are interested in buying houses. 2 questions about buying houses. Okay. When I'm receiving salary, when I prepare my tithe, should I pay 10% from my gross, net, or from gross? Okay, from gross or net? I have this question a lot. So normally this is what I say. They want to know, should I pay my tithe on my money that comes into my bank account after my company's taken all my taxes, or should I pay on the original amount? And this is what I normally say. When somebody asks you, and this happens when you're filling in a form, applying for a loan or a mortgage, whatever, they ask you, what is your household income? What do you say? Most people will say, I earn $70,000 based on their gross. So why is it when it comes to paying the tithe, we'll say, well, it's, you know, we think, well, if I pay on gross, it means I'm going to give the church or I'm going to give the Lord more. I really myself don't have a stance to say you're going to be saved or not saved if you pay on gross or net, but pray about it, and the Lord will work on your heart, because you know what it is that you're doing. You're returning to God what rightfully belongs to Him. What tends to happen is the more people earn, the less they start giving. That 10% starts dropping, because 10% of a bigger amount is a big amount according to them. So my advice to you is pray about it and let the Lord work on your heart. The good thing is, if you're talking about returning a tithe, way to go. Good for you. You're on the right track. You must return your tithe, and so that's a good way to go. All right. And I always tell individuals, I said, you know what, the Lord has given us minds, and if something is bothering me, I can pray about it, and He can give me wisdom in that area and give me a peace as to what I should do. And at the end of the day, you know what? When He comes, everything that we have is going to burn anyway, so I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing in that area of tithe and offering. How can we help our parents with supporting our educational dreams, still being quite young? This is probably somebody who's young. They said, I think they're 15 to 18 years old. So they want to know, how can we help our parents with supporting our educational dreams, still being young? Have the conversation with your parents early. Let's say you decide you want to go to college. Don't tell your parents, well, I want to go to college next week. Are you ready to fund my education? If you're having a conversation or you have a relationship with your kids or your parents, you can say, my goal is I want to go to college when I graduate from high school. So your parents can already know your intentions are. And let them know, you know what, I understand you might not be able to pay for it all when I get there, but I'm willing to work. There are some students that have had no help from their parents because their parents just couldn't afford it. And they've gone to college and they are holding 3 jobs. And you know what they have found out as well? The students that go to college and hold a job do better academically. Do you know why? Because they don't have the time to be fooling around. They don't have the time to be doing silly stuff. They know I'm going to work, I'm going to class, then I'm going back to my dorm, and then I'm going, and they have a lifestyle that allows them to be able to have those jobs, okay? Or if you yourself are planning to go to college and college is going to come later on, when you're in high school, you can work. Start putting some money aside. Your parents might be able to help you with tuition, but hey, you could say, well, I saved some money, I'm going to buy the books. Or I saved some money, mom and dad, for this semester. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of whatever it is, okay? So you yourself can help your parents by having that conversation early. Do not be afraid to talk to your parents about your dreams of going to college, especially if it's something that's going to help you later on in life because you have an education. It's worth the investment. Here's another one. Oh, I like this. How can I enjoy life and my youth without living as though I am broke? Okay, that's question number one. So how can I enjoy life and my youth without living as though I am broke? First of all, are you broke? Do you have a job? If you do have a job and you're managing your finances, you can have a life. If you have a job and you're doing a budget and you know how much you have for going out with your friends, you can enjoy life. But like I said earlier on, sometimes we have to tell our friends that we're not doing this and that because we have these goals. If I'm planning to go to college and I tell a friend of mine, hey, I have a job at Target and I'm working these hours and I'm planning to be saving at least $100 every pay period because I'm going to college, a lot of your friends will respect you because you've shared that with them. If I have a friend who's going to disrespect me because I'm doing something good, then maybe that's not a good friend, okay? So be very careful with your friends too. I always use this for the girls. I always say, if you're trying to save money and you know that when you go to the mall, you spend money, you don't want to be friends with somebody who says, let's go to the mall every week. That's not the person you need. You need somebody that will remind you you're not going to the mall because every time you go, you're going to be spending money. So as a young person, my advice to you is do these principles. Save your money, stay on a budget, and do not get into debt, and you can have a real life. How do I save and budget without feeling frugal? Is being frugal a bad thing? No, not at all. In fact, and I'm saying this to those that are younger, these individuals 15 to 18, if you guys take hold of these principles at a young age, you are going to be way ahead of people your age later on in life who don't have these principles. Trust me, I know individuals who have done these things from a young age. Today, they own their home. They don't have debt. They sacrificed the first 2-3 years after college to get rid of all their student loans, and now they're living life. I prefer for you to sacrifice for a short period so you can have a better life long term. Is that okay? All right. I think this is probably the last question that I have. Any other questions? If you feel brave enough to ask the question while everyone else is listening, ask the question. It doesn't have to be a reflection of you yourself. It could be just a general question that as a young person you guys struggle with. Any questions? Yes, ma'am. Okay, she asked a very good question. So when would be the right age to start a 401k? All right. Do we all know what a 401k is? Yes, it's a retirement plan. If you're young, and if you're in college and you're working, some of the, depending on who you're working, some of them will have some sort of plan that you can contribute towards it. Your focus at a young age is to be able to save, get out of debt as soon as possible. Because your 401k, you can go back to your 401k and you can add more money when you don't have debt and you've saved some money. Is that clear? So I know at the young age you want to be able to say, well, I want to save for retirement, I want to buy a house, I want to do this, I want to do that. Yes, those are all great things, but sometimes doing them all at the same time is not going to help you. You want to stay focused on some of these things so that later on you can come now to your 401k and dump $2,000 a month because I don't have debt. or dump $1,500 a month because I don't have student loans. You with me? So work the plan to your advantage so that later on you can come back and say, wow. And the younger you are, the better it is to contribute towards those plans. I have a slide that I didn't show up here, but I have a slide that shows if a young person starts saving $100 a month at the age of 18, they will become a millionaire by the time they're 60. Now you say $100, it sounds like it's a lot of money, but think about it. If you're working a job and it's $25 a week, you could eat out $25 in one day. And you're putting that into a savings account, you could become very rich, and you don't take any money out of the account and you just leave it there, you'll become very rich. Another question that I have when it comes to a credit card debt is about interest rates. Should I have a credit card, and what's the best interest rate? My advice to you is if you can keep away from it, keep away from it. But if you do have credit card debt and you have credit cards that are 0% and you need to transfer balances, that's all good. You want to save yourself the interest by not having to pay more than you really need to. Any other questions? That was a good question about phone. You have another one? Yeah, sure. On investment. Okay, she's getting all technical with me. She's asked me a question of 401k, and now she's asking about investing. All right. One of the things that I will tell you, obviously, do not try to invest if you have debt. Because what you're going to get as returns in your investment will not match to what you're paying on your credit card. Because some of those credit card interests are high. You could be paying 18, 24%. I have seen credit cards as much as 29.9% interest on a credit card. You have no investment out there that's going to give you that much interest. Okay? So you want to be very careful that you don't get into the investment arena until you've actually got rid of your debt. Personally, if you can get to a position where you can own property like a house, that is a great investment because it seems to appreciate. It seems to go up rather than things that lose money. Do not take any risks. Do not get involved in some of these get-rich-quick schemes, and I can tell you a story about that, where somebody comes to you and says, if you put $2,000 into this, in 3 months, you're going to have $6,000, and you think it's a great investment. Do not do that unless you know exactly what it is. Because there are people out there that try and do that because they try and get you on, I'm going to be rich quickly, and then you find out that that money disappeared. That happened to somebody that I know, I'll tell you, my brother. He came to me and my husband and said, you know what, somebody in the church, an elder in the church told me that if I put 2,500, in England, so 2,500 pounds in this investment, we're going to triple that in 3 months. And I thought, wow, that sounds too good to be true. So I went to my husband and I said, my brother's telling me about this. Do you know anything? And my husband said, sounds very suspicious. But my brother was swearing on it that it was the best deal ever. And guess what? It was an elder in the church. So it had to be a good deal. And so my husband prayed about it, and we were like, you know what? We're not comfortable about it. So we told my brother, we're not doing it. If you want to do it, go ahead. My brother didn't have the money. So what did he do? He went to my parents and said, Mom and Dad, my parents are like, sounds like a good deal. And my parents loaned my brother the money. He went, gave it to whatever elder or brother that he was involved with. And 3 months later, there was no return on that investment. Next thing we saw in the newspaper that they mentioned this company, that it had been one of those crazy companies where somebody had done some crazy deal and had gone around taking money from individuals. And do you know what was sad about that whole situation? My brother, he held on for like 5 years after the incident, hoping that someday some court will, sue somebody and he'd get his money. He never got his money back. What was even sad for me was the fact that he had borrowed the money from my parents, and my parents had passed away, and they never got to see the rewards of that. If you don't have the money to invest in things, do not borrow from somebody else. Okay? And if you want to invest on something, rather invest in something that you know about, you've done your research, you know somebody can give you advice versus you trying some get-rich-quick scheme. It does not work. All right? Any other questions? Yes, sir. Oh, she says, should I invest in stock market? Do you understand how the stock market works? If you don't, then don't. Here's my advice to people is if you don't know how it works, do not give your money to anything like that unless somebody else knows. Now, there's nothing wrong if you understand how the stock market works and you invest and you understand and somebody is helping you, it's not a problem, okay? But if you don't understand it and you can't explain it to somebody else how it works, do not put your money there. All right, Leah, I think we're done for now. And I've left my email address and my cell phone numbers. If there were questions that came up while we were talking that you just could not ask because you were either embarrassed or didn't feel comfortable, I will leave you 3 things. If you want to be unbroke, you want to save, you want to get out of debt and stay out of debt, and you want to live on a budget. Those 3 things will open opportunities for you in your financial life, and you will definitely have peace in that area. God bless you, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hunt. Okay. Have you been blessed today, young people? Yeah, okay. To thank all of you, especially our young people, we have some refreshments for you at the back. But before we do that, to thank Mrs. Hunt for speaking to us this afternoon, we would like to have a group picture with you, young people. So we would like to request all of our teenagers, young adults, to come here in front, and we'll take a picture with Mrs. Hunt. For all of you, please. And then after that, we can go to the foyer for the refreshment. Okay, young people, come on, young people, up here here, by the stairs. Young adults, young people, young at hearts.